Okay, let's go ahead and draw something. We'll start out with a 2D sketch. You also have an option for 3D sketch. That can get a little bit tricky though, so let's start out with something simple. And for your 2D sketch, which we will later extrude and revolve into the third dimension, you can start on just their typical generic Cartesian coordinate system, or you can also create your own working planes at any orientation you want for your sketch. So here we go. Let's just start on this guy. And you have all of your tools up here. So no command line. You're going to get everything out of the ribbon. And just like AutoCAD, if you have your cursor over things, it will come up with a description of what it is and how to use it. Let's start out with just a simple rectangle, and I am going to attach that to 0, 0. It's good practice to use the origin of your coordinate system. It helps you out later on to get everything aligned with one another. And you don't type in exact x, y coordinates. Usually you just randomly draw the thing, and then after it's drawn, you can dimension it into shape. So let's see. Let's say we want to make just a simple business card holder, right? So business cards, they're about 2.5 inches. Here's our nav bar, so I can zoom out. And let's see, we want to make this around 3 inches long. And we want to make our business card holder, of course, a little bit larger than that. If you just double click on something, you can redo the dimensions. So let's just pop this out just a little bit larger. So you can see as I dimension it, you're actually changing the shape of it. Also notice the change in the color of your lines. So once they are fully constrained and defined, your line color will change to indicate what it is. Okay, and what can we do? Let's look at some of these other drawings. So we've got an arc. Here's a 3-point arc. We're going to 1, 2 click defines endpoints, and then that third click is going to define how tall it goes. So we've got our radius that we can define here. And you'll notice it's black because I didn't actually type in any numbers for this one. We have offset. You should be recognizing a lot of these tools from what we had in CAD. It's very similar. So let's go ahead and offset this in, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch. Try that out again. So you can type in dimensions as you're creating it, or after the fact, you can grab your dimensioning tool. And the dimensioning tool is quite nice here. It doesn't matter if it's a circle or a line. It will detect what you're clicking on and dimension accordingly. So if I click on this line, it automatically knows it's a circle, and I would be dimensioning a radius at that point. So no dim linear, dim radius, dim align, just one dimensioning tool, and it'll know what it's clicking on. So that's very nice. We have trim tools, and for the trim tools, just click on it, and then you can start dragging around your mouse on whatever you would like to have trimmed. If you try to trim something that's been dimensioned, sometimes it won't let you do that, and you'll have to just delete off that dimension first. So know that. You also, hidden up here, this little red line, this allows you to create construction lines. So if you want to make something that is purely there for alignment purposes and not something you're actually going to extrude later, you can click on this little construction line, and you'll get a dashed line instead of a solid line. And then to undo that, just simply click on it again. Or if you want to change something between, just click on the line you want to change and then click on the construction line. Let's drill a hole in this. Let's see, maybe 1 inch, I don't know, something like that. Okay, now this is turning into kind of a complicated shape with a lot of different line segments. And just like CAD, it's not going to want to extrude it unless all of your corners are coming together. So before I exit out of this sketch, I'm going to right-click on here, say Close Loop, and we're going to just walk around the edge of this thing to make sure all of our corners are lined up. So I'm consecutively clicking on sections of the line, and when I make it all the way around to the end, this is the happy little message you want to see. The loop has been successfully closed. Yay! That means we can extrude it. We have another loop in here too, so let's try that one more time. So I click on the line, right click, close loop, and then just read the instructions. So I'm going to walk around the edge of it until it says the loop has been successfully closed. Okay, so now we have a nice shape with all the corners lined up. We're going to say finish sketch. And as you finish the sketch, notice what's happening over here in the left-hand side. Our sketch is right over here. And if we ever want to jump into that sketch and edit it, we just double click over here. It will open up our editing tools again, and we can add some more features and then finish the sketch again. So instead of layers, everything you do is going to be recorded over here in the left-hand side. Okay, let's go ahead and try the extrude feature. So I'm going to go ahead and click extrude. It automatically detects what we have, and there's a couple different options here. We'll tell it the distance to extrude. I don't know, let's make this 4 inches or so, maybe just 3 inches. You can extrude in different distances. Once you have your first solid, you can also extrude as a solid, or you can push it through as a hole. So instead of extrude and press pull and a couple of different things, it's all here, and you can select different things. We also have, profiles versus solids, different outputs, so check out the different extrudes. Once we have this thing, let's try out the shell command. So this will turn it into a hollow object, and we can define our wall thickness. Let's see, how thick do we want our walls? If you're going to 3D print something, make sure your walls aren't too thin. It won't 3D print very well if it's too thin. You can remove faces. Okay, so I want to remove a few faces on this thing until I get, and it shows you a preview of everything you're creating here. So you can kind of keep clicking on it until you get everything that you want. So there we go. There we have kind of a little bucket that we could use to hold some papers or something. Check out some of the different modify tools. And again, for all of these, just hover your cursor over it and it'll give you some instructions for it and play around with it. So let's try the move feature. So if we click on this face, and maybe we want to move this face a little bit, just click on the axis that we want to move it out. Maybe we can add a little pencil holder on the side of our business card holder. So I'm going to just move this out a few inches. That should do it. Hit enter. And let's say we want to drill a couple of holes in there for our pencils. Notice what's being created over here on the left-hand side. We have our extrusion. Underneath our extrusion is our original sketch. We have our edit that we have done to our extrusion. We have the shell command. And anything over here on the left-hand side, you can double-click on it to reopen that command. So let's say I decide that 0.2 inches, that's too thick or too thin, and I want to pop that out just a little bit thicker or something, right? So you can come back here and redo any of the extrusion heights or edit any of the sketches. So let's say I wanted this hole, maybe it's too big or too little, so I can redefine the size of that hole. And then I finish the sketch and it updates everything. So it's pretty nice that it records everything you do, and you can click over here and re-edit and modify anything that you need to as you go along. Okay, let's create a new 2D sketch. And to do that, I can either come up to that original coordinate system that we had been working on, or I can just click on any surface that I had been drawing on and start sketching on that surface. Let's say I want to sketch some holes over here. Now, if you're going to draw something on the inside of something, over here in View, Slice Graphics, you can come and look at the inside of something and then draw some internal features. Coming over to my sketch, I'm going to put in a few construction lines just so that we can center a few things. We can also, and I like to make sure this is a construction line, we can project geometry. So for our new sketch, project geometry brings up those edges and creates a construction line for you so that you can find center points and align things with previous features that were on there. You have the snapping tools are just automatically applied, so you can feel yourself snapping to center points, and so just kind of play around with those snapping tools a little bit. Let's go ahead and draw some holes. I'm going to drill some holes in here so it'll be like a little business card holder or post-it notes or something. And then we'll put some spots where you can have a pencil over here. So let's see, what's the size of, maybe for Sharpie markers, so we want a nice big hole or something, I don't know. So I'll make a few different sizes of this thing. I'll make it just 2 large ones. Okay, so there's one large hole. Here's the mirror command. So mirror, we're going to select the object and then select the mirror line. There's a mirror line. Apply and then done. So most of these little tools, just read through the menu and go through from one to the other and define everything it needs. Okay, so we can say finish sketch, and we have these 2 holes, and this time I'll show you a couple of other extrude features. So we can extrude this as a solid, or we can extrude it as a hole. We can push through both ways. So see how it's going equally up and equally down from where, and this is, I love this little symmetrical extrude tool. That's very nice, something that AutoCAD does not have. Okay, so there's just a couple little containers that you could throw some pencils or something in here, and you can play around with the distance, and so maybe we want it just a little bit larger. Okay, there you go. So there's the extrude. We've got the fillet edge command that we can use. So again, you just click on something, you can define the different radiuses. So maybe we want to pop that up to 1/4 inch and go around and just round off the corners a little bit for this guy. See if that... Okay, so just walk around all these tools, play around with it, and make something fun, something that you can try out the 3D printer with. And as you create everything, notice how everything is recorded over here on the left-hand side. So every extrusion, every sketch, every modification that you do is going to be recorded over here. And if you want to change anything, just double-click on it. It'll open up the sketch, and you can modify it, play around with it again. So have some fun with it, make something interesting.